Let's work. Work. What's up, Big Dawg? It's Coach Rolle, and we are back in the lab with Big Dawg Trench Talk. I have been excited and eager to get back to this podcast. Doing this podcast has definitely been one of the best things that I've ever done. I love doing them. I love talking to you about being better coaches, better pass rushers, better athletes, period, at the line of scrimmage. But let me tell you before we dig into this, I've had some great things happen over from the last podcast up until this one. The biggest thing has been the dog trainer. The dog trainer has been amazing. It is my training pad along with the system that has really helped guys be better at the point of attack, with pass rushing, with run game, all that stuff. It's been an amazing thing. We're working on the second steps in regards to getting it patented, so that's awesome. We have gotten the dog trainer trademark, which is amazing. And so far, we have sold to over 10 NFL teams and college teams with our pads. So it's been amazing to see teams like 49ers, Raiders, Ohio State use the dog trainer. And the coaches have been loving the pads. They said it's been very good for their athletes' development and efficiency. So I'm excited about that. That's taken a lot of my time along with training. But I just wanted to let you know it's been big. It's been awesome. Appreciate you guys' support with this. But I've been eager to get back to this podcast. So for our first podcast back, we are going to be talking about pass rushing. The title is going to be Pass Rushing Techniques, Advanced Methods to Improve Speed and Efficiency when Rushing the Quarterback. So this is a very important topic. This is a lot of questions I've gotten from coaches, from athletes and pass rushers. Coach, how do I be a better pass rusher? In essence, that's what this is asking. How do I do a better job at rushing the quarterback? That's the million-dollar question, and it's not a simple answer. It is not a one-size-fit-all answer. And I feel that when you take that approach and you give every athlete the same answer, we have already messed up right there as it is. Why? Because there are different variables. There are different things to consider. There are different offensive schemes we're dealing with. There are different styles of pass rushers that we have out there. Everybody's not the same. And so when you begin to answer that question generically, I think we're doing the athletes a disservice because they begin to feel that there is something that they are inefficient in, or there may be something that they don't possess, which will not enable them to be successful. And that's not true. One of the biggest things that I feel when it comes to training an athlete to being a great pass rusher is to first identify, what are you good at? Are you stronger than you are fast? Are you faster than you are strong? Are you quicker than you are fast? Are you smarter than you are strong? We need to build on what it is that you do very well, as opposed to looking at some of the best pass rushers in the NFL and trying to create or make an athlete be just like them. I think that's the worst thing that we can do, is trying to make an athlete be just like another athlete, especially when they do not possess the attributes that that athlete possesses, right? We don't want that. We should start with what they are good at. We should start with where their strengths are and build from there. So that's not even in my notes, but that has happened to me as a pass rusher. You know, when I was at University of Florida, I wasn't 6'6", not 6'5", 300 pounds. I didn't run a 4.240. But what I start to realize is there are some things I'm good at. There are some things that I can do very well. My get off, my leverage, I had great hands, and I was a pretty smart guy. And when I was told often that I didn't have the height, the length, or the size to be a great pass rusher, that began to put me in a headspace where I began to doubt myself because I didn't have these attributes. However, when I start to use my knowledge, when I start to learn more about the game, when I start to realize that my height is actually going to play as a huge role as to how I beat these guys in front of me that were 6'8", 6'7", 6'6", when I began to realize that all I need is all I have. And that's very important, that all I need is all I have. I just had to believe in what I had. Once I did that, I became very dominant. I ended up starting at the University of Florida because of what I believed in my mind, right? I focused on what I possess. Okay, so that's very important. Now, there are 4 things that I think are crucial that I want to talk to you about in regards to how to be in an efficient pass rusher. Now, the question actually says efficiency and speed. Okay, Coach, how can our athletes be more efficient and be faster when it comes to pass rushing? That's very important. Let's talk about the efficiency. So here are 4 things that you need to know as in knowledge. There are 4 things you need to know, whether you're a coach coaching your athletes or whether you are the pass rusher, whether you are the athlete, you need to know these 4 things to be efficient at your pass rushing. Number 1, you need to know the tendency. You should know what is it that the offense likes to run. What is their personnel grouping? What's their formation? What's the personnel and formation that they favor when it comes to passing, when it comes to an RPO? What is that? Part of the issue when it comes to speed and efficiency with pass rushing is that in a real game, pass rushers do not know what they're looking at. They are not sure if this is a passing formation, if this is a run formation. Yes, offenses nowadays are so smart and good at what they do, they can run and pass right out of any formation. However, if you are watching film and you're looking at this team's personnel and formation, and you know that their tendency is to actually pass out of this formation or pass out of that personnel grouping, then you are a little bit more aware as to the situation. You are a little bit more aware that this team probably wants to pass. Let me be more specific. Maybe out of 10 personnel, which is 1 back and no tight end, you might have been watching film on this team and you're telling yourself in 10 personnel, this is when they have a tendency to pass. If it's empty, no running backs, no tight ends, for sure, this is when this offense tends to pass. If this offense is in 11 personnel, anything over 8 yards, right? 3rd and 8, and they're in 11, this offense tends to pass. So if we are playing the game and we have no awareness and we have no knowledge of the tendency of the team, then we are lost. You can't be efficient and you can't be fast if you do not know or have no knowledge or prior knowledge of what you're looking at. What tends to happen in this situation, coaches and athletes, is that you lose 2 steps. Okay, let me be more specific. When I'm watching guys in my Zooms and we're breaking down film, somebody who does not know what they're looking at in regards to offensive schemes and concepts, they're taking 2 steps just to figure out what they're looking at. Okay? They're taking 2 steps before they start playing football. So a previous Zoom that I just did, I'm watching film. And the stance looks good, great 3-point stance, everything looks great, right? And then what do you see? I'm looking at the Zoom, we're talking into the Zoom, and I see him take 2 steps. He's not aggressive, he's not low, he's not exploding off the ball, he's not eating up turf. And I asked him, why are your first 2 steps so lax? I said, I'll tell you why. You're trying to make sense of what you're seeing. You're taking 2 steps to try to track the back. You're taking 2 steps to try to figure out what the quarterback's going to do. That's going to happen if you have no prior knowledge, if you don't know what you're looking at. So you're not playing football until you've taken your first 2 steps. How can I be fast if my first 2 steps are reading steps as a pass rusher? Do you hear that? Pass rusher. I am rushing. That means I'm in a hurry. How can I be in a hurry if I have no prior knowledge of what I'm looking at? And coaches athletes, that's one of our biggest problems, is that we don't know what we're looking at, or we can't interpret what we're looking at. So we don't know. So when do we know? We know after we've taken 2 steps. Well, you can't rush like that, right? Can't rush. You can't be fast and efficient if I have no prior knowledge. Pass rushing starts in your pre-snap. Pass rushing does not start at snap. Please understand that. Pass rushing starts in your pre-snap. You already know your alignment. You know your attack. You know that stuff pre-snap. If you know the tendency of the team. So the one thing you got to know, which you will learn in your Zooms, you will learn in your team meetings, you will learn in your scouting report, you got to know the tendency of the team. It's the first thing you got to know. If you don't know that, you're not rushing, you're not sure what to do, and you're not being aggressive in your approach. That's number one. Got to know the tendency of the team. Ready for number 2? Here's number 2. You have to know your defense, your destination, and the situation. Number 2, you got to know your defense. You have to know the destination and the situation. Okay, let me break that down a little bit. If you are playing, let's say, a 4-3 cover 2, right? We know cover 2 is zone. We know that if an offense is attacking a zone, most of the time the receivers are going to find dead space. If you don't know what dead space is talking about the space between defenders. So you have a lot of read routes in zone because they have to find dead space. Well, the thing about cover 2 and playing zone is that sometimes, depending on the down and distance, the receivers will get open quicker, right? Because defenders are playing zone. What does that have to do with the pass rusher? If you know that if there's zone coverage behind you, and you know that those guys behind you are playing zone, especially if it's cover 2 zone or cover 3 zone, because now you have different defenders in different places on the field, that's telling you you don't have as much time as you think. Now it becomes a race. If I'm you as a pass rusher and I'm rushing, whether I'm being blitzed or I'm rushing off the edge, I'm thinking if we're in zone, I'm racing the receiver in my pass rush. I've got to get to my spot before the receiver gets to their spot. Why? Because I'm in zone. Now watch this. If we're playing match coverage or if it's man coverage behind you, typically if you got some good defenders behind you, you may have a step. That might have bought you one more step with match or man. Why? Because it takes some time, sometimes, to create some separation in man and match coverage. So that buys you a step. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to rush like we got time, but I do know that I have time because of what they're playing behind me with our DBs and linebackers and safeties. Does that make sense? So knowing the defense is very important. Knowing the defense also tells you how you should rush. I can't tell you how many times I'm watching football on TV, I'm watching my guys play, we're watching Zoom, and I ask them, if it's man coverage behind you, which means most of the time, all those guys behind you have turned their back to the quarterback, why would you power rush at this moment, right? Why would you put yourself in the box of the offensive lineman knowing that that quarterback might take off because those DBs, linebackers, those guys in coverage have their backs turned to the quarterback? We got to be careful about that. We have to be careful about what kind of rush we have depending on the coverage behind us, right? If it is zone coverage and you have help behind you, guys are turned to the zone. Coverage defenders are turned to the quarterback or open to the zone. Now you have help. You got help. So you got to know, how do I pass rush to my help? How do I pass rush when I don't have guys behind me that can help me because they're in man? And how should I rush when I got guys behind me that can help me because they're in zone. You have to know the defense. Now, I know we're talking some detailed stuff, but you can't be out there playing by yourself. Football is always 11 equals 1. Which side of the ball can get 11 guys to function as one body? I know that you are a body, but you are part of a body. And everything that you're doing, depending on the call of the coordinator, he's trying to coordinate the body of 11 to work as one body. When you are pass rushing and you have no awareness as to what's going on around you within your own defense, give it a minute, you're going to make a huge error. You're going to rush inside when you're to the field and it's man. You're gonna rush too far upfield and there's no 3 technique, right? You're gonna make the wrong choices sooner or later when you are not aware of the defense that you are playing. That's very important. You have to know the defense. You have to know the destination. And I kind of mentioned that just a little bit a minute ago. But when we talk destination, we're talking about, am I to the field? Am I to the boundary? Are we in the red zone? Are we on the other side of the 50? Where are you? You've got to know where you are, okay? I won't say his name, but I had a great conversation in a Zoom session with one of the best pass rushers in the NFL right now. And we talked about how an offensive lineman's pass set is going to be different in the middle of the field versus in the red zone. Why? Because in the red zone, you don't have that much space. Receivers don't have that much space. The 12th man is in the back of the end zone. The 12th man could be the sideline. The 12th man is so close that the routes are a lot shorter because of the spacing of the football field. So if the routes are shorter, the pass sets are going to be shorter. And if the pass sets are shorter, well, guess what? You can't rush the same because you're in a different destination. Does that make sense? You got to know that guy's going to maybe jump set you. He may short set you. He may vertical jump set you. He may 60 set you, but it may not, the stem of the set may not be as deep. You have to be aware of these things so that you can make an efficient decision when it comes to rushing the passer. You got to know where you are. Where am I? Am I to the field, the boundary? Am I on the other side of the 50? Am I in the red zone? Where are we? That is very important. And you'll be surprised how big plays happen because guys lose where they are. They don't know where they are on the field and they make the wrong decisions. That is very important. You have to know the situation. Is it 3rd and 3? In the NFL now, what a lot of offensive coordinators are starting to do, they know that every defense has a package. They know that if it's 3rd and 3, you may bring your big package on the field. You may bring your big dogs, your big run stoppers on the field, right? Because it's a 3-yard game. And when offenses see that, they may check into a quick pass. They may check into a hot route or something like that, right? So it's not guaranteed just because it's short down in distance that offense is going to run. They're not doing that no more. They want to create mismatches. They want a defense to have a certain package, and hopefully I'll play you on that play because you can't match your personnel with their personnel. So you have to know the situation. If you're on the field and it's 3rd and 3 as an example, yes, we want to stop the run first. But if it happens to be a pass, am I flying 10 yards upfield? Right? Would that be smart to do? No, because that ball may potentially come out quick. Why? Because of the D&D, the down and distance. You have to know the situation. You have to know if a quarterback is going to launch the ball from 8 yards from the line of scrimmage. Is he going to launch the ball from 5 yards? Is the quarterback going to take the ball from under the center and throw right there, throw something quick, which you don't see too often because you can bat the ball down like that. You got to know the situation, right? Because even though you can beat that offensive tackle or you can beat the center or the guard, or you can beat the running back if you're a blitzer. You still have to know that you have to beat the offensive coordinator. You are playing against the coordinator. That's the guy you've got to beat. So you're not just beating the guy in front of you, but you are beating the scheme. So if I don't know the situation, how can I beat the scheme? There are times where you get frustrated, coaches and players, because you're beating the guy, but you're getting out schemed because you don't know the situation. Good coordinators make the right calls based on situations. You ever seen those head coaches on the sideline? They have these huge cards, right? And they have their information laminated. What do you think's on that paper? What's on that paper is the situation. Given every situation they may encounter, they have some options. Given the situation, they know what they can go to offensively. You got to know the situation to make the right decision. So what's big here for number 2, you got to know the defense. You have to know the destination, and you got to know the situation. That's number 2. Number 3. 3 and 4 are pretty big. And I'm going to try my best to get to the details of this, but if I do not, I'll be back. I will be back for part 2 of this because I want to do this justice. I wanted to do the first 2 parts justice because most of the times when guys are skilled pass rushers and they're still not getting home is because of the first 2. They don't know the tendency and they don't know the defense, destination, and situation. So now that I've spoken to that, let's dig into number 3. Number 3, and you would think with all the off-season training that a lot of you all do, with all these great pass rush coaches that are out there, great coaches on the collegiate level, NFL level, it has been so much different, drastically different, and how this approach has been when it comes to teaching this stuff. But still, we still have issues with number 3, the move. You have to know the move. In order for you to be efficient with the right move, you have to match the move to the man. When I say the man, I'm saying you have to match the move, the pass rush move, to the offensive lineman. You got to match it. And in order for you to truly match the move to the man, here are 3 things you got to know about the man. Number 1, you have to know his stance. What kind of stance does he get in? Does he have a run stance? That guard, that tackle, center obviously is the same. And does he have a pass set stance? That guard, that center. Does he have a different stance? Does his back foot move 2 more inches back? Does his back foot move 2 more inches forward? All of those are indicators. Is his feet wider on run? Is his feet more narrow on pass? You got to know his stance and what that stance means to you or to him. You got to know his stance. The second S is his set. You have to know his set. Do you know the pass set tree? It's fairly simple. If you don't know the pass set tree, it is important to know the pass set tree. Fundamentally speaking, I'll share it with you. You have the vertical set, which we all know, which has been more popular in the offenses today. You have your 45 set, which has also been popular. You have your short set for quick pass releases. Then you have your jump sets, okay, which you may see if a guy is really close to an offensive lineman or the quarterback wants to get the ball out quicker because the set has to match the scheme. But then you start to see the 60 set. If the vertical set and the 45 set had a baby, it would be the 60 set because the 60 set plays the benefits of the vertical and the 45, which we'll get into on another podcast. But that is the pass set tree. So you have to know his set. What kind of set is he taking? Because depending on the set, you may attack that set differently. I can't get vertical with a vertical set, for example, right? If I get vertical with a vertical set, at what point do I attack that lineman's toe? When do I cross his path? When do I burst his bubble? When do I get tight to the fight if he's going vertical and I'm going vertical? At that point, our paths will never meet, and I'm running too far upfield. So that's just an example. You got to know his pass set. So you got to know his stance, and that doesn't take long to know. You have to know his set, and that set may vary depending on the scheme. Now, here's the big one. You have to know his strike. How does he hold his hands pre-contact, and how does he strike at contact? Is he a low hand setter? Is he a high hand setter? And is he a top hand grabber? So does he hold his hands high? Does he hold his hands low? And now when it's time to strike, does he strike low? Does he strike high? To be specific, when I say high, I'm talking about above the nipple line. Is he high when he strikes, or does he grab your shoulder pads and lock you in? Those are different pass rush moves. If this guy is a low hand setter and a low hand striker, will a sweep be an efficient move for that? No. Okay? Because his hands are not in the right place and you don't have hand leverage to work that particular move. So you have to know, how is he setting his hands and how is he striking? So that way you can match the move to the man. So to be efficient in your pass rush moves, to make sure that you execute that move, you want to match the move to the man. That's big. That is very important when it comes to being efficient at the point of attack. I know it's a lot, but it's important because when we win at the line of scrimmage, it's not by accident. It's on purpose. Now let's get into number 4. And this is elite. This is advanced. This is important. And this is what, a lot of the legendary Hall of Fame great rushers have started to teach younger guys as to the most efficient way, the fastest way to rush the quarterback. And that's this. Number 4, you have to know your track. You have to know your track, your pass rush track. The same way a receiver has his route, a pass rusher has his track. Remember, you are racing the receiver. You don't have all day. You can't rush like you got all day. Quarterback is not going to throw the ball when you're ready. Quarterback's going to throw the ball when a receiver is open. And if that receiver is pushing to his point, you should be speed to a spot. And so you have to know what's the most efficient track that I take to get to the point of attack. That's very important. So your track speaks to where you are lined up and where's the quarterback. Where's your alignment, and where's the quarterback? In order for you to know what your track is, and this is key, you have to know where's the quarterback's launch point. Is the quarterback launching the ball at 5 yards? Is the quarterback launching the ball at 7? Is the quarterback throwing the ball or launching the ball at 8 yards? If the quarterback's launching the ball at 5, should I get on that offensive lineman at 5 yards, talking to my defensive ends? No, because that could be too late. You don't have backside rush, which we'll get into in another podcast. If that quarterback's throwing the ball at 5 yards, you probably want to get to that offensive lineman, again, talking blitzers, outside blitzers, and the ends. You want to get on that tackle's toe at about 3 yards because that then gives you backside rush if you are efficient in your move. Your track will tell you how to attack. Your track will tell you how to attack. So your track has to be efficient. You have to know where the quarterback's line point is so that you don't over rush the quarterback or over pursue, and it makes you more efficient in your pass rush. It's hard to be efficient if you're not sure what your track is. And it's hard to attack if you don't know where your track is. So in this podcast, again, I'm going to go back to the question, which was a good question. When it comes to advanced methods and techniques, regarding rushing a passer, how do we get a pass rusher to be more efficient and fast in his pass rush? Fundamentally speaking, coaches and athletes, those 4 things are pivotal. You've got to know those 4 things in order to be efficient and fast in your pass rush. Number 1, the tendencies. Number 2, got to know your defense, destination, and situation. Number 3, you got to have the move. You got to know the plan. You got to know the guy that you're dealing with and match the move to the man. And number 4, your track. Your track will tell you how to attack. Now, there are more details within that, but right there is a fantastic, strong foundation that will help you not guess, because we don't like to guess. We don't guess, we assess. Those 4 things in your assessment, if you can answer those 4 things, will tell you exactly what your approach needs to be so that we are precise in our fight. Big Dawg, like I said, I'm excited to get back to you. This was the first podcast of many, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm already ready for the second one, to be very honest with you, because I think that it is important that we know when it comes to winning football, it's just like winning life. We're not guessing. We are precise in our fight. We've got to have a plan. We've got to have a team, and we've got to know how to execute it. Got to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do it because you've done the work to do it. And you've got to trust that you have it in you to do. Big Dawg, this is Coach Rolle. And again, we are back in the lab with Big Dawg Trench Talk. You know what time it is. Let's go to work.
Work, work, work. Let's work. Work, 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 work.